here we go. This city deserves a better class of criminal. I'm gonna give it to him. No! You'll see. I'll show you.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
This is my review for The Dark Knight, released in 2008. I can positively, absolutely say, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind, this is the most hyped movie I have ever been around to witness or was interested in. From the moment Gordon flipped the Joker card at the end of Batman Begins, I was hyped. I remember a smile hitting my face in the cinema watching Batman Begins when that moment happened. Then, a year and a bit later, it was announced that Heath Ledger had won the much contested role of the Joker. Batman Begins had already laid down the fact that Nolan knew what he was doing with the franchise and that Bale was a suitable Batman/Bruce Wayne. However, for a long while there was speculation of maybe a miscasting of Heath Ledger as the Joker. Then, in December of 2007, the trailers hit. And at least for me, all of those worries were gone. Soon after that, the hype went out of control. As of writing in July 2008, it has already reached number 1 on IMDb's top 250. But being from the UK, I had to wait an extra week for the release of the film. To be honest, I'm going into it a little worried that the hype has got the better of everyone and people are overpraising it. So, after a long wait, it arrives, and it does not disappoint. One of the main issues I had with aspects of The Dark Knight going into the film was that I wasn't sure about taking a crime epic approach to the film was a good idea. Grounding it more in reality. One of the appeals of comic books are that they are so over the top, they are like the ultimate form of escapism where things are different to real life, so I wasn't sure that Nolan's idea of grounding it more in reality was a good one. One of the aspects of that was Gotham City itself. They just used a real city, Chicago I believe, with very little changes to make it fit in to other versions of Gotham. Being a big fan of Tim Burton's work on the city and the films, I wasn't sure about this move. However, the action, the suspense and the sense of threat throughout the film made me forget about all of that. Nolan has made a fantastic crime epic. On the flip side, I can see where some people would say that the world they live in should reflect a more hyperbolic city as seen in the comics, but as I say, the action sequences and the tone that Nolan set up made me forget about all of that. I've heard some people say that Nolan can't direct action. Well, I was personally on the edge of my seat for every single action sequence. Not only was the camera work fantastic, but the score was fantastic as well, and really helped draw the viewer in to the experience. That droning sound that came on whenever the Joker was on screen or about to make an impact was chilling. Oh, and while we're on the subject of the Joker, Heath Ledger was outstanding. I'm not going to make comparisons with Jack Nicholson's Joker, because that was fantastic too, and it still is. As Jack did a Joker that fit into Tim Burton's vision, Heath has done one that fit perfectly with this film. So many memorable scenes just involving the Joker come to mind. The magic trick, explaining the Scars version 1 and 2, attempted assassination, visiting the hospital, the bit where he sticks his head out of the car window and the score goes down to a numbed silence was amazing. I like to share one of my own personal favourites that doesn't get mentioned very often. The moment where Heath Ledger as the Joker during a gangster meeting when one of the gangsters says, "You're crazy." Joker replies with, "No, I'm not." The delivery of that line and the dead stare after was riveting. I'm in total agreement with those who say he deserves an Oscar nomination. However, if that wasn't enough, you had Gary Oldman getting a much bigger role in the film than Batman Begins, and knocking it out of the park. Then Aaron Eckhart, who I wasn't keen on when he was cast, but does a great job. I don't think it's much of a secret that during the course of this film, Aaron Eckhart, the character Harvey Dent, becomes Two-Face. I thought the CGI effects on the face were fine, but I was kind of thinking, wonder if his voice changed. As explained to me, his throat wasn't badly affected, but he was missing one of his cheeks, and it had totally caved in on one side, and if I was to pull my cheek to one side, my voice would change, not dramatically, but it would. It would just make it more gargled. So I thought that maybe it was a bit weird they didn't have a different take on the voice once the transformation took place. Oh, and another thing, they should totally sort out Batman's voice by the third movie. I could have also done without the Salvo thing. Maggie Gyllenhaal was great, but I'd actually like to say that I thought Katie Holmes did a fine job in Batman Begins. Just as good. And I know I'm in the minority thinking that. Last thing on the negative side, Scarecrow's role in this film was an absolute disgrace. To the great work Cillian Murphy did in the first movie, Batman Begins, either have him in a decent role or don't have him in at all. It was an insult to have him in the short amount of time they did. One thing about The Dark Knight is its tone. It's dark and it's disturbing. It's strange because it's not all out violence or blood, it's just a constant sense of threat and danger. It got a 12A rating over here in the UK, which basically means anyone under 12 can see this if they are accompanied by an adult. I would say this is not a film for children. Yes, it's a Batman film, but it's a darker Batman. The darkness aside, it's a long film and I can't see many children retaining the interest for its 2.5 hours run time. As I say, it's less about all-out violence, more just the tone, such as Joker's explanation for his scars. He talks about disturbing issues and situations. Then of course you've got Two-Face, which is pretty tough going and it's pretty gruesome as a visual. So no, I would not recommend you take young children to see this movie. All in all, this is a success. Nolan has done something quite special. He set out to make a crime movie. Well, you know, a comic book movie that also passed as a crime movie, a crime epic, and he has done it. It's able to maintain the mythology of some of the comics and graphic novels, while at the same time creating a more realistic movie. As a crime movie, it's great. As a Batman movie, it's great. I think maybe the strongest endorsement for this movie could be that at 2.5 hours, I can't wait to see it again.
Here's my card.